Hi, I'm Donny. I made a game for the Epic Megajam 2019 called Catch, if I can say it. And I've had a few like comments and stuff telling me, oh, make this. How did you do this? How did you do that? And I thought, you know what? I'm really busy, so I can't do like tutorial videos and stuff like that at the minute. But what I could do right now, I've got like 30 minutes or something. I'll break down this game. Hopefully, you might learn some things that you could use for the next game jam or even for your games. You might see a bunch of stuff that is like the worst coding you'll ever see in your life. It's fine. It mostly works, so I don't care about it. But so what we'll do first is I'll get rid of the autosave. Is we'll go through the game. So I'll just put it up, just in editor mode. Can I go? I'll just leave it like this. So this is the start of the game. This is just a menu. Obviously, this was like last day rush, last couple of hours, whatever. It does what it needs to do. Got the name, cat catch in space. Save the cats from the ship before it's too late. Collect all the biscuits too if you're feeling extra. That's optional. So that's an optional objective that I've put in. The controls, press 1 to play normal mode, press 2 to play hard mode. There was a bug, so it's not, I've loaded it in Unreal, so you don't get this bug when I play it here, but in the actual game, on hard mode, on normal mode, there's cats that will run around, they'll keep running and running and running. In normal mode, those cats will have like a second pause or something like that, but in hard mode, they just keep running. The point was they were supposed to just keep running and that would be it, but for whatever reason, when you go into hard mode, it does that. I know it's a weird bug, but it makes the game harder, so it's like, cool, let's use that. Also, what you'll see in a minute, so I'll just load up normal mode. There we go, so we're in the game. And if I just turn the camera, and you can't see it, but the Earth is growing. And it's basically, that's just a texture on a plane. And I've used an event tick to make the scale get bigger and bigger over time. And when it hits a certain scale, it's like game over, so the screen will go white and you'll get like a camera shake and it'll exit you out the level, so that's pretty cool. So I'll just show you this. So now I've got my little dude here. It's very Ape Escape, but with cats, pretty much. So I've got my guy, he's got a net, just WASD movement. I didn't do anything with the camera really. I think I divided the axis values, I think, of the camera, so I'll show you that in a minute, but it just makes it a bit slower instead of it being like super quick and just being like crazy, even though I just did that. So there's a cat sleeping. It's got a little particle effect for the Z's. That's pretty cool. So if I capture him, door opens. You can see in the top left, if I go get something that's darker, see it properly, it's got cats and biscuits. You can see 1 out of 8 cats and 0 out of 70 biscuits. Like I said earlier, the biscuits are optional, but the cats aren't. So if I jump, and you're going to notice this as well, look at that jump. See how not floaty it is? I'll show you how to do that. I do have videos on it, but I'll show you how I did that in a bit, because it's pretty cool. And like every youth Unreal Engine has like shitty floaty jumps. It's really bad. So you see the store, it's not going to open. Why? Because I've not captured the cats. You see this cat here, so you've got this one in the center on the floor that just keeps running. So in the actual game, it doesn't do that. It does a pause, like this cat does here. So he moves, has a second pause, moves again. And then get some biscuits, capture him, and you capture this guy. You can just kind of wait for it and then just go like that, but that's not fun. because I made a hoverboard. So I got that Spyro trilogy, the remaster, and you know I love the sprint mechanic thing. So this is just kind of that, but it's a hoverboard. All it's doing when I hold it down, it's just making the character move on the forward vector, you know, a certain speed. I just changed the max walk speed, and then you know just give him a hoverboard and change the animation. It's not too crazy. And then if I capture the cat, spend the whole video capturing the goddamn cat. Right, there we go. And then door's still not open. Why? Because there's another one sleeping just in here. So I'll capture that. I'm not going to get all the biscuits because we'll be here all day. And I might get game over because I'm having to explain stuff. I mean, look at the Earth, it's massive. When it gets too big, it's game over. So, you know what, I might have explained it for so long that we might get a game over screen. Right. You'll notice as well what I did there is the hoverboard makes you jump further because obviously the walk speed is faster. See, I made a checkpoint as well when you enter the next room because I know that this bit's going to be rubbish for jumping to. So I do that, I get the cat here, and you have to use the hoverboard to jump. This next one, capture, new objective, get back to the escape pod, which is at the start. Hoverboard it. Oh, game over screen, good. But that's the game over screen, so you get to see it. But basically what would have happened at the end is I just reach it, there's a little text that just goes, you know, winner, and then it cuts out to the game. So that's the game. This is all the errors, but it's fine because it's fine, don't worry about it. As you can see here, I've got all my materials, which I'll go through later. I'll go through the player character first. So I make BP player. I'm not going to go into too much detail because the video would just be stupidly long, but you know, I'm just kind of going to point out a few things. Ooh, Halo just downloaded. Right video, Donny. So movement. So I've got here, you can see HB turn rate, HBing. That's a hoverboard. So what have I done here? Move right, move forward. So yeah, if the controls for moving, like walking, are different to the controls for the hoverboard. So on the hoverboard, you know, W and S don't actually do anything. When you're hoverboarding, which I'm pretty sure I did on the event tick. If I can find it. But basically for the hoverboard, W and S, which is forward and backwards, they don't do anything. But the left to right movement will change the yaw. So the yaw is your Z axis rotation. So that's kind of like doing that. So I'll be using the event tick to push you forward, and you'll be using left and right just to kind of steer left and right. Whilst movement is default, I think, just to normal. I just use branches, you know, and a Boolean float to check whether you're on the hoverboard or not. So that's just the movement. Gamepad as well, same thing basically. So I did that, but you're just using the gamepad. I've not used the gamepad on it yet, but yeah, it'll be fine. I also did it for the mouse as well, so you can control the steering with the mouse when you're on the hoverboard. Same thing, you know, it's there. I'm gonna check what turn rate added was. 0.8. Is that the same? Yeah. So you're turning slower than you normally would got jump. So this is the most interesting thing. I've already done a video on it. I'll go into detail on this one because there's lots of like floaty jumps in Gamejam games, and people don't know how to do it. I didn't know how to make a decent jump for ages. I like figured it out, or whenever I did that video like a year ago. But it is really simple, and once you know this, now you can just, you know, it takes 2 minutes. You can do it for every game you do, and you've got a good jump, and you don't have to worry about the game feel being trash. And when you're doing a third-person game, so you're going to jump. There's jump. That's the default. Then I got a timeline here, so I just insert timeline, play from start. So if I double click and go in, you'll see I've added a float. Gravity, it's going to start at 1 because the gravity value is at 1, and then it's 0.3 seconds. But over 0.3 seconds, it's going to be not go up very much, and then right at the end, the gravity scale is going to go. So what happens is I will load a paint. I'll just draw really quickly. So a normal jump is going to be just like an arc. So like that's my line. So normal jump is just that. It's 1 up, 1 down. This good jump is this jump, which I use here, which is a good jump for video games, is kind of goes up slowly, and then at the peak of the jump it goes straight down. Mario does this, every every game does this. I don't know if Halo probably does it a little bit because they have the gravity thing, moon gravity most of the time in their games. They might not, I don't think they use it. I feel like most games do this, even if it's just subtly, just, it's a game feel. It feels weird, the floaty jump, it feels rubbish. So this is what I do here. That's a timeline. All I did, the character movement, that's already in your third person character. Go to that, set the gravity scale, and I just put that float from the timeline into there. Now, as well as that, when you release as well, so this is what makes your jump height different. So if you just tap it, you jump up in the air, releasing it mid-air will stop the jump, and it will set the gravity scale to 4, so it will set it really high. So if you just tap it, you jump and then suddenly goes like straight down, which is also what they do in Mario. So if you hold it, you'll jump higher. If you just tap it, you'll just do a little jump. Obviously, you need to reset the gravity scale, which is why on event landed, I just set it back to 1. I mean, if you don't do this, it's like you're going to have one good jump and then you're not jumping for the rest of the game, and that's it. Obviously you don't want that, that's a bad time. So now I've got check fall, so this is a timer, so you can't run everything on an event tick. I'd know, you'd put one thing on the event tick, which you really need. I always see people saying like, never use event tick. I also see every single tutorial on YouTube using the event tick, so you kind of go, what do I do? I use set timer by function. So I've made a custom event, set timer by function. I've written the name of the function, so I made a new function here in the left called is4. Make sure you type the exact same function name in the function name. Time 0.1 seconds, and is it looping? Yes. So once this event is called, it's just going to loop that forever. It's basically going to check if the character's falling. I run this by event begin play sequence. That's just calls the event check fall, and I make a little thing for timers. I kind of expected me to have more timers, but for whatever reason I didn't. I got a cough. If I go into the function, all it is, it's a simple branch, just this for branch is falling, you know, it's from the character movement. If it is falling, which means you're not touching the ground, it's going to set the gravity scale to 5. This is used, so it's all great when you jump in and you get, you know, your gravity effect, but if you just walk off a ledge, it ain't going to do nothing. So this is why I've got this. So it's going to check every 0.1 seconds, is the character falling? If it is, it's going to set the gravity scale to 5. So if you walk off a ledge, it's going to go, oh, you're walking off a ledge, oh, gravity, hit the floor. And then obviously when you hit the floor, I have it, you know, it's going to go on landed, back to 1, so you're always good there. So that's the jump, so I think that's the main thing you really want to know. I think it's going to improve, you know, your gameplay for your future games. Now I'll do the hoverboard really quick, because this isn't that, actually no, I use an actor component here. See in this top left, I've got AC hoverboard, so I will, because I think I put the event tick in there, that's why I couldn't find it. So it's just left shift, you know, I didn't even put an actual input in the project settings, I just use left shift, so it won't work on controller. So I just use, you know, whack this out, boom. I have the events in here, so hoverboard active, inactive. So that goes to a gate that's on the event tick, which I'll go through once I've done the rest of this. So character movement, I'm changing the rotation rate to make it slower when you rotate in, so you're only, you know, 50, 360. Max walk speed changed to 1600, normal walk speed 600, you can see it on the screen, I don't have to explain it. Use controller rotation yaw. So this is what makes the camera is always going to be behind the player, even if you're turning left or right. You're going to be in like a fixed camera angle to the player. You're always going forward. You know, if the hoverboard isn't on and you turn right, you'll see the character, you know, he's turned right, but the camera hasn't, you know, followed round and gone with it. You know, the camera's still kind of there. Which I'll, you know, when you watch the gameplay, you'll figure that out. You'll realise. Setting the world scale. So I did just put the hoverboard as a static mesh in the character, and then like when it's not on, the scale is 0, so it's basically invisible. And then when it is hoverboard, it's scaled to 1. And then, you know, I just set the boolean. Is it not? And just like do a little, so you can see it. This is the net. Left mouse button, didn't do the inputs. Is net equipped? Yeah, it's going to be equipped, because I was going to do originally like change, you know, I was going to do it so you didn't have the net to begin with, and then you picked it up, and then that would be the thing. But it was just quicker, you know, I didn't have time for that. Play anim montage. I made a montage for the net, because if I didn't, if I'd gone into the hoverboard, it wouldn't do the animation properly. So this anim montage, and actually even if I'm moving, the anim montage for this specific animation for the net is only going from sort of like the chest upwards on the player character. So anything below the chest is going to be the normal either walking or on the hoverboard animation. If I click the left button, it's going to play the net animation. The net animation is from the chest upwards, so the bottom is not affected when I do a net animation, which I hope makes sense. I know, like, it's a bit weird. I'm going to double check anything else. The net trace, I'll figure out where I put this, but the net trace. there's a custom event. When I left click, I'm pretty sure I've put this somewhere else. But when I left click, basically it does this capture net trace. It's just a box trace. What you do for a trace when you're doing, so this works for shooting, it works for melee and stuff like that as well. I think I put it in the player controller. As you can see in Gamejams, you know, spaghetti, it's all messy. It doesn't matter if it works, it works. You've only got like a week to do it, so don't worry about it too much. Obviously, if you're doing a proper game, I'd stress out. I would stress out. I'd plan it before, but I didn't plan it before. I just kind of did it as I went. This is good for prototyping as well. Like, if you try to make a new game and you don't know, is this going to be cool? Is this going to be fun? There's no point spending a week planning in, like, you know, Google Word and stuff. If you know you're going to plan out, you're going to do the whole structure, you're going to spend a whole month, and then it's crap. There's no point in doing that. So if you want to test if a game's fun, just go make the mechanics. It doesn't matter if it's messy. You can change it later. You know, find out if it's fun first. Don't plan an entire game and then it's not fun. What's the point? It's a game. It's supposed to be fun. So that's my little thing about, you know, excusing my terrible planning. So anyway, as you can see on the box trace, when you do a trace, so it's going to have a start point and an end point. Whether you've got a gun for a game or if you've got a melee weapon that you're using a trace for whatever reason, which is alright for like arcadey games, you know. I know most melee games you'd have like a collider on the weapon or something. Doesn't really matter in this instance. So the start is the get actor location. That's the player character. I use the get actor forward vector, so then it's going to go forwards. I made a variable for the net range, which is 250, so it'll be 250 units. In front of the player is the end. So I do vector forward times this float. That's what makes it go, you know, forward in range, and then I add the actor location to this like kind of end forward location to make the box, and that makes the box trace. It works for lines as well. You're basically just making a line that goes forward. I've done like half size here. This is the reason I used the box trace, because if I did it as a line, no one would ever catch the cats. You have to make these kind of things, you know, not realistic. You have to make them playable, really. You know, it's like you've probably heard in platformer games where if you've got the 2D platformer, you'll see that you can jump sort of slightly past the platform, so you could be in mid-air, but then the character still jumps, because it just makes the game easier, because I don't think, you know, the brain can't always match everything on the screen. You want the game to be playable. It makes it, you know, kind of less bullshit when you play the game. So I made this box quite big so that you could capture the cats. Otherwise, if it was a line trace, like, you'd have no chance in hell. You know, the player would get frustrated, it'd just be a nightmare, so what's the point? Orientation here is just get actor rotation. That's just going to make sure, you know, it's going on the player characters forward and not like the cameras forward or the worlds forward, because then you'd have a bad time. You just break hit result, hit actor, actor by tag. I gave the cat actors just the tag cat, obviously easier to do, blah blah blah. I just apply damage. Basically the cats all have like 1 health, so when you capture the cat, when it does the 1 damage, it basically drops health to 0, you know, destroys actor, does its little poofy particle effect, you know, whatever. Once this has happened and you've actually captured the cat, because this bit here will only work if you've actually hit, you know, a cat actor. then it will set the cat count to +1, and that's going to work with the score in the game. That's the top left, 1 out of 8 score. So that's capturing the cats. The game over, I mean, you can see this for yourself. When game over happens, I think I did it in the game mode blueprint. It triggers it in the game mode, and then what it does it here. So game over, character disables the movement, so you stop moving, camera fades to black, and then blah blah blah. Think about it, I don't actually use this in the game, but that's how you would do a game over if you needed to do that. I don't use this for the game over, I do a different thing, because I was going to have health in the game, but then I thought, nah, I'll just have, like, the Earth's growing anyway, and there's no point having health, and also a time limit. So I just, like, you're not going to have that many game overs before you're not going to fall or die that many times before the timer runs out anyway. So there's no point. Show you this. Here's a character. He's got a little animation blueprint. It's really simple. Normal materials. I just did it one material thing. As you can see, this guy is like really super low poly. I think I made all the models in like a day. I made the cat models, the net, the player, hoverboard, all in a day, and then I did the level stuff later, which was also just made in like a couple minutes, because I don't like modelling. It's like the worst thing. It's not modelling really. It's modelling, animating, and rigging. Just I ain't about that. So a camera boom as well. You'll see I did enable lag. It makes it a bit smoother. It's a bit nicer. You just look at the settings here. I don't think the camera's in the way. I'll just move it just in case. You see there, just enable speed of 4, lag distance 300, smooth. You don't have to do much more than that, to get a decent camera. I do like the camera distance here, target arm length 550, and then I moved it up a bit, 120 up the z-axis. So you can see here, the camera is a bit higher than the thing, but you can see the boom here. It's just a thing, you guys can figure that out. It's not too crazy. I think this video's gone long enough. So last thing I'll do is collectibles, because I think this will be the other easy, useful thing, and it's not hard to do. So all I've got is my static mesh for my biscuit. I put a rotating movement component on it. Just means I don't have to script it. It just does it. I've set rotating component here on the right, just to 90, so it's not too fast, And then I just put a sphere collider, and it's overlap or dynamic. When the player walks into it, all I did was I right clicked on here, add event, on component begin overlap for the sphere, cast to player. This is me spawning the particle, so particle capture, which is just a little proof of white sphere blob things, and it does it at the actor location. As you see, because it's casting from the player, which means I can then set the biscuit count score, +1, adds 1 to the biscuit count, add a little sound effect just because, and then at the end, destroy actor. That's collectibles, easy and done. So that's all I'm going to go through at the minute. You can play the game yourself on itch. You just look at the thing, search for catch. If you enjoy it, let me know. I might try and do some actual proper tutorials. This is just a breakdown. I just wanted to get something out. Subscribe if you want to see any more. Comment, tell me the kind of things you would want me to make videos of. I did do like a Time Crisis style on rail shooter system, so I might do that. Not necessarily because everyone wants to make on rail shooter systems, but it'll teach you because to be honest, I just use sequencer if I did it again. But I made a system. I made a system of mechanics. I made a spline, and then it goes through different colliders, which then do different things. It's a system with little parts, and once you build the system, you add it in. You can add it into the game, and you can make that system work for you how you want it in that specific level. When you make a system, you make an easier way of building the game. There's no point making one mechanic for each level. There's no point remaking the same system for the same game for a different level. You may as well build the system and then pop it in when you need it, and sort of customizable. You can adjust how you want. So I might do that later in give me a while, but I might do that if you want it. So yeah, so I was Donny. Play the game, comment, subscribe, blah blah blah.